Oh, market recap for Thursday, 11th of June, 2026. Um, I guess today was simple, right? I don't see how would anyone really mess it up. There was a bit of a heavy, what do you call it? Time wasted, let's say, time distortion. But other than that, it was fine. So I know there's a lot on the chart. There's a lot on the chart, but I'm gonna explain everything. But this time, try to do it quickly, right? The last few minutes I went in too much detail, and I'm too tired these days to be doing this. It's too late. So let's quickly do this recap and let me explain my thought process coming into the market, right? So let's do this as a replay, right? Because it would make way more sense at a time. So let's do it pre 9:30, right? So now just looking at the market, right? Like we're talking here just 1 minute. What do we see? Right? We see that in the London or Asia and London session, we take previous daily low, right? So we open at our low basically, and then we take the low and then come back higher, making relative equal lows. And on ES, we don't. We actually do take the low out, right? So that initial idea would support this bullish price action, right, for the intraday. However, what's the target, right? Looking at it, there is two potential scenarios, right? We are extremely bullish, which means we're gonna go and take this high out. So we would take previous daily low because we're at mid range, previous daily high, and then these kind of relative equal highs and this empty gap. That's scenario one. Scenario two is we go up and take our highs because we've been bullish all overnight, take the highs, stop somewhere here, then take the lows, and then after that it's free game. It could go lower or it could go higher. I could not care less because I know by then I would have got my trade, right? So because two scenarios support the bullish action, I would be more inclined to be bullish. Right? Makes sense. Simple, right? As simple as bias can be taken. So I need two things to confirm. I need a target for my bullish price action, and I need something to get me on long, something that makes sense. So, I'm talking like an absolute retard because of this smart thing. But anyway, on the 4 hour, actually on the daily, right? We need to like put some stuff that makes sense, right? Currently, if we're looking at the daily, we're looking like we're going higher. Where are we going higher? We've got this volume imbalance, but what's a big range that we can use? This inversion fair value gap, right? Because if we were gonna stay bearish, what would we do? We would visit this inversion fair value gap again, right? And we see currently we're so close to it, which means we can put that inversion fair value gap. That's what I have highlighted in big, right, with this quadrants, which means if we tap it, then I could suggest that as a target for the day and we could start heading bearish, right? That's one potential target. That's just outside of the internal highs and stuff. We're just talking daily time frame, right? So it makes sense that we haven't gone to the highest possible scenario for our highs. Okay, 4 hour. In the 4 hour, okay, the same thing, right? If we're gonna go up to this inversion, right? If you're looking at it, right? Because in terms of the daily, I'm still looking for something that makes sense, not just within this price action, but within this price action. So, what do I have marked out? One more thing on the daily is the opening price of this order block, right? I know that I'm gonna use it later throughout the day, should I need it. That's why I have it marked, right? This order block, opening price. Anyway, 4 hour. What do I need? Only thing that makes sense without taking this high is the rejection block, right? So that's why I have highlighted in blue, and that's why I would expect our high of the day, should we be bearish, is gonna be, right? Should we be bearish, right? It all depends on probabilities and what actually happens intraday. So now on ES, I need to kind of just quickly double check, does the narrative support it, right? ES, I can see a high that makes sense. Why? This order block, opening price, I already have it highlighted actually. Right there, that high makes sense. So what do I think, like coming into the day? It's plausible, right? Like that's the question. It's plausible that we could go higher, but we don't need to take the highs on ES. However, I would want to see the highs taken on NQ, which means NQ is the one to take for long. Also means NQ is the one to take for shorts if there's shorts, right? You see how all this coming up? You see how all everything fits into the narrative? Boom. So we know that NQ would be likely more bullish. So if we're gonna be bullish, we want signs of strength. So what do we have in terms of liquidity? Well, we have our PM buy side, we have our lunch buy side, we have our initial liquidity, we have our London side, buy side. If you're watching my things, this is gone, this is basic stuff, right? In terms of sell side, we have our initial sell side, PM sell side, and Asia sell side. That's it. So it's not even stacked. It doesn't really look like relative equal lows. So they're low probability. So I'm only looking at the initial sell side as real target for sell side should we get it. Okay. And you know, the other buy side, if we're just looking at what do you call it, regular trading hours, it looks more obvious this way. It doesn't look like it's going through candles. So we have our rejection block, our daily inversion fair value gap, our order block. Order block, I don't expect it to do anything right now. It's something for later. I'm looking at this inversion fair value gap, the lower quadrant of it specifically fitting with this lower time frame structure, and the breaker block basically in this case right there, right? And the rejection block. So all the confluences are lining up with this lower quadrant and the rejection block. So, and we have relative equal highs, 4 highs to be exact, stacked above us at the current market open. So what is the current bias? Bullish. Simple as that. So we open, right? We open and we shoot straight down. I'm like, okay, today might be, okay, there's 2 scenarios, like I said, remember? The one where we take this high, or the one where we go up, take the highs, and then take the lows, right? That's the only 2 scenarios I can see for today, as in AM session. I don't care for the rest, right? So that's the 2 scenarios. I need something to verify. If we're gonna have an SMT with the highs, it would make sense that we have SMT with these lows, right? And as you can see, we create our first presented fair value gap, right? Would I take it? Absolutely not. It's not time. Why is it not time? Because look at this, 938. 938. Now we have our SMT with the lows, okay? Also, an additional rule that helps me is just wait till 940 because that's when like the BS is done at the start, okay? So once we get our SMT, I'm watching the midpoint of this wick, right? Because we might not hold the SMT. One candle hits it, the second candle retraces back to the opening price, the closing price of this order book. I don't expect us to visit this again. If we truly bearish, I would expect us to just make this like a balanced price range and dump, right? So it doesn't do it. Next candle once it starts retracing lower with this wick, I'm there in the 15-second buying up. Right? Stop loss at the low, and the rest is history because buys. The buys. So realistically, I like shorts, and because I've seen this was just a market maker sell model, and I already took the long, and I was like, guy, this is too easy. Let me switch accounts. So I took the long. I was like, it's up to here. It's roughly 300 points. I remember on a T-beat, but that's it. That's 300 points. Cool, shebang, done. Now I know that we're in scenario 2, and it's a market maker sell model. So I know there's a short, and it's a high probability short. And I normally take one trade a day, but dealing with many accounts, and I don't really like what do you call it? Copy trade them as of yet. I'm just just switching accounts. So I was like, you know what? Let me take the short as well, because normally before, right, I would have waited for all along. I would have watched it hit all the targets, blah blah blah, and then I would take the short. But if I can see the long and I can see the short, why not take both? Worst case scenario, I'm already like up, I don't know, 10 hour for the day. If I lose 1 hour, who cares? Right? So I'm waiting for my analysis to be correct, which means ES doesn't take the highs. Does ES take the highs? No, it don't. And that is the basis of the trade. I'm waiting for NQ to hit what it needs to hit, which is the rejection block, right? So once we hit it, think of a market maker sell model, right? Low risk entry, let's say first stage. I'm waiting for the second stage, right? There's candles missing here. There's candles missing here. There is definitely candles missing here. Because I don't know, this don't make no sense. There we go. We hit the lower quadrant of the inversion fair value gap. We come retrace, right? First stage, second stage, and then I guess like the final, unicorn, if you think about it. Fastest, boom, to the target. And now I'm waiting for the shorts. So how did I enter shorts? Why do I know this is already going to be an inversion fair value gap? Oh, these set of 2, right? If you're looking at a 2-minute. Well, because that's the target. Like, there's no reason to go high, right? There's just no reason to go high. So I know like my shorts is here, right? Looking at 15 seconds, we come higher, respecting this mini BC. You see, boom, we take the wick, boom, retrace back to 50%. Small CB, and I take 2 entries. It goes into my target, and I'm like, you know what? It is a risky entry. If this is not true, it's a risky entry. So I was not willing to see it take the high again. And once it did this, it kind of scared me out of it. And I was like, you know what? I'll take like $50 loss. It was basically break even at that point. And I was like, let me just wait for a better entry, way more confirmed. Once it did this, I took my entry again and I tried to enter more, but it just left too quickly. So I kind of messed up on my part for scaring myself out, because normally from this to this, it should have just went down, but it decided to hit the rejection block again. So I should have just got off to the 1 minute. Just let it do its thing, because I know it's coming back to the order block, but whatever. It is what it is. Anyway, once it goes down, I enter the trade anyway, and this was more of a confirmed entry, better entry, I guess, and then I can have way more trust in the stop loss. Why? Because it's an order block, then it's a propulsion block, so like I should be safe, right? But sadly I couldn't get the second entry, and I tried to get my second entry right here on this wick, right? So in the order of this price action, once we hit this rejection block, what should happen? Should we be really bearish? Is we don't really wick through this. We would come up here, kind of do an immediate rebalance, and then start flushing lower. We don't offer my entry. Me not getting my entry just told me everything, right? I could expect a heavy retracement. So watch this price level, right? That's all I'm gonna say. Watch what's supposed to happen later, right? This is where I see people get cooked, right? If you didn't take this short, I know people probably try to take it lower and or they're waiting for the market maker sell model for the lows, which is ideal. But if you're not really following price action candle by candle, then you're gonna miss where the entries were supposed to be and whatnot, right? And if it missed an entry, and that's why I learned with using my limit orders, it will come back to it, right? That's why I couldn't move my stop loss, even when it ran all the way down here. Like, if you're looking at this, and I know this might not look anything too crazy, but from here to here, that's 171 points. Would you be losing? If you're not confident in your trade, would you really let the trade go 171 points against you? You really wouldn't, right? So, but I know because they didn't offer the entry, it's gonna have to offer it, right? And then yes, it worked as this inversion fair value gap, whatever. It hits its current TPs, but in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing until it goes back to that entry. And if it didn't want to do it now, and we buy then 1020, then we're gonna have our time distortion technically pushing us to the 1050 macro where we're gonna have the signs. So watch this, right? Maybe some people I would assumed would have entered on this inversion for value gap. Nope, you shouldn't. And watch that. Wow, pay offers the entry. Who would have thought? Anyway, after this, I moved my stop loss to this high. Right? Like genuinely, the second that this candle went, because it shouldn't. It was coming up close to it. I couldn't care less because I know it's not gonna touch it. Right? It did what it was supposed to do. And now it's just waiting basically 1040, it's gonna do the start for the 1050 macro, and you can see probably I was not watching. Now, right, we can use the opening price of that daily order block. Ding ding, smacked, and we're out of here, right? 1050 macro delivers to the lows. Once it delivered to the lows, right, there was a potential that we could be bearish, right? That's why I didn't close the trade instantly. There was a potential for that. And all of that had to be layered based on this 15-minute right here, right? If this holds us, then we're cooked. And because I'm not waiting all the way to the 15-minute because the 15-minute didn't close below it, I was just waiting for the 5-minute. This minute. If we close below that, these lows were done deal. But because we didn't, then it's not a done deal. And we're just going back to the midpoint of our opening range gap, and we're gonna go back higher. Higher where? I don't know. We could go take the highs. We could just stall throughout the day. I don't really care. I took my luck, the long and the short of the market maker sell. So I'm just waiting for a confirmation, based on that. So the second that we hit the opening price right there, I close because it's a done deal. And if I was feeling extra crazy, today for a third trade, that's just breaking my rules. So I didn't do that, but I would have switched accounts. The second that we return to this order block, that would be my entry. And then honestly, I would take it all the way up to the highs. Why? Because this is an early launch model that is going to take these highs, and I don't know if it's going to take higher. And as you can see, we come back to this is our first presented. Come back to our first presented for another entry, take the highs. After that, this is a done deal, right? It could have done this and started just stalling throughout the whole day, but we have the candles of doom in just few seconds, and I mean few minutes, and we go take out all the highs. What I thought for scenario 1. So we technically did scenario 1 and scenario 2 at the same time for today, which is unexpected, right? Especially this late, but shit happens. Who cares? Anyway, taking 2 good setups today. Could have taken a third one if I was just feeling greedy, but I'm not doing that no more. But anyway, that is the market week. I feel like I explained a bit. I said I'm gonna keep it quick, and I just looked to my side and it's already 20 minutes, so that is not great. But anyway, it's the recap. Let me just quickly confirm a few things for tomorrow, right? Because I did not expect us coming for this high, you know, and clearly we are. Why? Because this didn't act as an inversion fair value gap. Should we close today, right here, right? Tomorrow we would have flushed out all the lows, but because we have not, I would expect this to return to be used as a bullish PD array for now, because apparently maybe everybody and their mama is putting their stop loss here, and which is sad because I wanted to short, but I guess they're coming back for you guys. So Friday, expect a bullish Friday, unless it did it on what do you call it? Anyway, I can remove all of this, but Friday, since we're already taking this previous daily high, I would not expect us to flush down to previous daily low, which should update later. But I guess that would be, what would previous daily low be? Yeah, it'd be here. Anyway, yeah, so I would not expect us to come back to the lows this week, and this looks like a setup for next week. Anyway, for this week, we're clearly trying to come back against the people that are just shorting, thinking this is the show of their life, even though they might be true, but it clearly is not the time. So we're looking to come back against them, cook them for tomorrow, and that's about it. I don't know if I want to trade tomorrow really. Had a great trading week, straight bangers, but I don't know. Does that mean we're still not bearish? Not really, not necessarily. I believe that we might keep the high on ES. However, on NQ, we might take the high. Don't quote me on that. That's just guesswork at this point. And that would set us up for a bearish week for next week. However, if we really start going through it, then yeah, I guess this was just a retracement, which would be sad because I really wanted months of shorts, not just this little whatever. But yeah, this is the market recap. I hope something was worth it. If anybody's watching, it's a private channel, but it is what it is. Getting better, getting good. That's all I care about. And yeah, peace out.